Hello, all you faithful followers and friends. Welcome to episode 26 of I'm Not Confined, but I probably should be. And tonight's Friday on the couch. I got my snacks played out, or my dinner really, and the guys are going to share, of course. And we're going to watch a new movie from Netflix that they just put out this week called The Old Guard with Charlize Theron and I'm going to say this wrong. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Chiwetel Ejiofor, the guy who played the agent in Firefly. Anyway, we're going to watch that, and I hope it's really good because it looks interesting. Got something to do with immortals, and that seems pretty neat. So after we watch it, we'll get back to you. Okay. Well, looks like we're not going to have very much to talk about with this movie because there really isn't that much there. Let's start with the plot, as usual. You have this Black Ops style team of people that just so happen to be immortal, ish. Meaning that they are regenerative, kind of like Wolverine. So you shoot them, they heal. But apparently it's not permanent. They can die at some point. There's no rhyme or reason, no explanation to it, no real significant backstory given, and that's pretty much where the movie has its biggest drawback. But I'll get into that later. So you have this team. They are contracted by a former contact and asked to do a job. Turns out the job is a trap. This person knows that they're immortal, even though they've been hiding it, and they are ambushed and attempt to be captured. The rest of the movie is basically them running away from these people who are trying to capture them to use in medical experiments to increase the range of life for humanity, or profit, or whatever. So that's pretty much it. It's very basic. There isn't very much else going on in it, except that during the course of them running, there is a new member of their team who is born, and they bring her in to kind of be a new, fresh blood into their realm, and there's a little bit of friction because she doesn't understand. They have to explain things. She doesn't want that life. Yada yada yada.
I never even had a choice. None of us had a choice.
You know, the normal kind of resistant hero type stuff. It's so that's the plots really. There's again very basic, very plain, not much to go on. My analysis is that it's empty. A lot of Netflix, direct-to-Netflix movies that are made by Netflix, not the ones that they buy from other people that they show necessarily, but it's like they're directed by the second assistant director, by the second unit. You know, the second unit is the people that are responsible for doing all the action shots and all the connective tissue. You know, you got scenes on airplanes, and you got scenes on, you know, trucks going across the road, and you know, it's all the stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with character development or acting or script. And that's really what this movie is. There's a lot of moments of just action, but then there's never anything that gets you to kind of get an idea of who these people are. There's a quick little bit about backstory from this person, a quick little bit about backstory from that person, and that's where the movie really does shine, is when it's covering that history of what they've done and who they've been and how their relationships evolved. But it's so woefully small amount. I mean, if it makes up 10 minutes of this hour and 34-minute movie, I would be surprised. I'd be probably closer to my estimate if it was 6 or 7 minutes of actual character development. And it's really just in the form of, yes, we fought in the Peloponnesian Wars together, you know, that kind of thing. which is, and I think that comes at the cost of the way that they develop the story. It seems obvious that the new girl that they're bringing in, the new immortal that has just been born, is supposed to be our analog, the person who is supposed to be, that we're supposed to look through her eyes and kind of get the idea of what's going on in the action through her, because she needs to be brought up to speed just as we need to be brought up to speed. But because they spent a lot of time showing her reluctance and her struggle with what it means to be immortal and the possibility of losing everyone she's ever loved, and watching every person she cares for die eventually, you lose that sense of naivete because it becomes about her and not about the group. And I really wanted to know more about the group. I really wanted to know a lot more about their backstory, their history, their struggles and strife, and how they became what they were. And they make a very specific point at one point to say that she asked them, "Are we good guys or bad guys?" And they say, "Depends on the century." And that would be interesting to explore. It'd be interesting to explore when they were bad guys and according to whose view of history it was and what they did. They say they do what they think is right. That's the jobs they take. They try and do things that are right. So I am disappointed that it didn't have more of that. It keeps very secret the identity of Charlize Theron's character. She is supposed to be the oldest one, the first one who was immortalized, and it would be really, really interesting to cover more of her. The little flashes and snippets that we get of her look interesting, but again, just flashes, almost fever dream flashes of small moments that just they're there and then they're gone. It doesn't give us any kind of real idea of who she was as a person or who she is as a person, how she developed her personality, her skills, everything. And it's just sad. It's sad that they cut it short like that. This movie is adapted from a comic book, apparently. I was not familiar with the comic book. It's apparently an independently published comic book. I'd never heard of it or seen it anywhere in any comic shops, but I take it for granted that it is a graphic novel somewhere and somebody has seen it. So I bet that there's a lot more development in the comics than there is in the movie. So filmically, is that a word? Film style wise, this movie falls into what I call the European style of movie, specifically European action movies. Let me break that down for you. So you have just giant Hollywood blockbusters, things like Avengers, James Bond, Fast and the Furious movies, right? They have these big budgets, this big shiny looking filming style. Everything is big and bold and vibrant and really looks alive and looks like it's reality to the nth degree in what you expect it to look like, at least film wise. We've become accustomed to this style. This is what we expect to see. And then you have another style, which is the independent movie, which is filmed differently. You have like a different color palette. The white balancing is different. Or maybe it has a filter on it. So what you're looking at isn't necessarily what you're used to seeing in reality. Or maybe it is what you're used to seeing in reality. It's just that it's dialed down or muted or blued out or hazy. And things like Payback, the Mel Gibson movie Payback, or Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction to a certain extent, although that one really kind of blurs the line between the two. But more towards the big budget than towards the small. You've seen these movies before, and you know them when you see them. And then you have the European style. The European style is like a hybrid of the two. It's like taking that European or that independent movie style, independent movie box, and stuffing everything of the big giant monster quality into that box. And it doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite work. It's too small. The box is too small for what they're trying to show. So it's everything seems to be peripherally cut off and slighted and small. And the best example that I can give of it is like chase scenes. When you see a chase scene in an American movie, an Hollywood movie, you have these giant landscapes, these giant roads and 6 lanes and 8-lane highways, and even when they're like alleys, they seem like they're larger than life, right? And cars jumping over the San Francisco hills and zooming through the middle of alleyways in New York City and running into walls but when you see it in like a European movie, it's these tiny, teeny, tiny roads with 1 lane in each direction, and it seems very claustrophobic. And even when the roads seem like they're big, when they got big sidewalks and cafes, it just seems very closed off. And you got that police siren. There's something about that filmic style that turns me the wrong way. It's got the same kind of knee-jerk reaction that I had when I would watch a TV show from the 70s as a kid. When you turn on the TV and you can see just the different film quality, the graininess of it, and the coloring and the way it's shot, you're like, ooh, this is a 70s show. I don't want to watch that. It's got that same kind of quality. It just feels like it's less polished and less proper. Things like The Transporter and things like The Professional are very good examples of this. There's something about them that seems shortcut. And I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it directly, specifically. Because I like Transporter. I think for The Professional is a spectacular movie in terms of its theming. But it's not one of those things that I go to and think, let me watch this again. Once I've seen it, it's usually pretty much, I'm good. And I don't know what really makes that happen. So this is filmed in that style. So that's already kind of a strike against it in my book. So let's go on to performances. Charlize Theron is playing essentially Furiosa. She's that same kind of, closed off, I'm the biggest, baddest bitch in the building kind of attitude, but very emotionless and detached. She has a moral code and she's working for a purpose that you agree with in general terms, but there doesn't seem to be any kind of charm or personality or real humanity to grab onto. And that might have been what they were going for because she's so detached from mortality, but it definitely makes for very hard to empathize with character. The woman who plays Nile, the newest immortal, her name is Nile. She is fine. She's fine. She plays the conflicted new guy pretty well. Nothing spectacular, just fine. The other 3 immortals that are in part of this team, they're very blah. They don't get a whole lot of opportunity to express themselves or tell you anything about them. There's 2 of them that have a specific character trait that should make them more compelling, but the way that they do it, it's so bland and blah that, with the exception of one real monologue, it's kind of meh. I would have liked to get more of that and more of them, and just it suffers from time. There isn't enough time to really develop the characters, so their performances aren't able to be fully realized. The person who has the best performance, though, is by far, is Chido Ejiofor, whatever his name is. I can't say it. He has a full arc of his character. He starts off here, he goes up here, comes back down here. He's got a full path of motivations and assumed righteousness. So that's, good to see. But he gets almost no screen time. And he's a brilliant actor, so it's hard for me to really picture him doing anything horrible. He brings a great amount of empathy and life to anything he plays. So I can't knock him on that. And I won't, because like I said, it's a fully realized character, but it's really the only one in the movie that is a fully realized character and gets full motivations and full opportunity to express them. I wish that had been granted to the other characters. So with that being said, my point of view on this movie is 2 thumbs down. I'm not loving it. I don't think that it really garners any kind of enthusiasm. But let me see what these guys think. What do you guys think?
Aw, come on. It wasn't that bad. Charlize Theron, I love her. She can do no wrong. No matter what movie she's in, I think it's great. Now, that being said, the rest of the movie, kinda weak. But I did like the explosions, and the shooting, and the running, and the jumping, and the car chasing, and that's all fun. It's like watching old MTV. All the videos with the action and everything and no real story. That's what we had here. So, I give it at least 1 thumb. Seems fair. Fair?
I guess I can be a little generous too. 1 thumb for me.
Okay, so I guess we're looking at 2 thumbs out of 6. Not super great. Probably should skip this one. I don't know. Maybe if you're getting your teeth cleaned and you need something on in the background, maybe this will distract you a bit. Cleaning house, maybe something to do while you're washing dishes. It's really nothing there. It doesn't matter if you miss a part here or miss a part there. It's pretty pathetic. And I really wanted it to be good, so I'm sad. They did leave it open for a sequel. I don't know that would ever happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. If it's being made directly for Netflix and Netflix gets a lot of money for this, maybe they'll make another one. So anyway, that's all for Friday on the Couch, and we will see you again right here on the couch next week. This has been episode 26 of I'm Not Confined, but I probably should be. Always, remember, like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next Friday.